welcome back to Season 2 of Traumedy, the podcast that helps you transmute your trauma with comedy. It's not a replacement for trauma therapy, never has been, never will be, but it will help you get by between sessions. I'm your host, Nancy Norton. I am a comedian. I'm a former nurse. As many of you know, I got out of healthcare for the same reason a lot of you got into it, to save lives. I'm healing with humor now. I'm studying therapeutic humor, and I'm a big advocate for gallows humor and dark humor, which is what nurses, first responders, trauma survivors really need. I got written up in nursing school for my dark humor after clinicals when we would go back and discuss our day with our fellow nurses. And it turns out I actually was being of service, and I was helping people express vicarious trauma. Traumedy is peer-to-peer sharing, co-healing our trauma wounds with comedy. This year, I'm so excited to be starting off January 23rd. That's 1, 2, 3, and our first 3 guests, the Grawlix guys. 1, 2, 3, Andrew Orvedahl, Adam Caton Holland, and Ben Roy. This is going to be a fantastic start. We have so many cool guests coming up. I'm excited. We have Pete McGraw will be coming up soon. He's the author of The Humor Code, Shtick to Business, and he has a brand new book he's going to talk about. I'm going to be doing a little comedy at his solo salon February 1st. That'll be exciting. I am also a keynote speaker. I love to go around and talk to businesses, conferences about the power of humor, how it helps with team building, creative problem solving, health, families. It is so helpful to everything. As Charlie Chaplin said, take your pain and play with it. As always, share this with a friend. The main goal of Traumedy is to help heal ourselves and others. Let's keep paying it forward. I'm loving this. I have to be honest. I mean, this podcast is healing me. Like I wanted to be of service as part of my recovery work from codependency, and as an adult child, I am working some 12-step programs. But I have to admit, it's selfishly been... I love it. I get a nugget. I get like a nugget every time. No pressure. But I just have a feeling.
Wow, I hope. Let me go grab my bag of nuggets.
No. Oh, you fixed my glasses. Oh, this just in. My favorite glasses got repaired by my teenager. Look at that.
Nice.
Those are my favorites.
You break, I fix, right? The store.
Actually, yeah, we have used. Oh my gosh, we both have ADHD and drop our phones. Yeah, nice. It's a sign. That's one of the signs, I guess. Do you often drop your phone and lose it?
I do.
You may have ADHD. Welcome to Traumedy. My guest this week, you may know from those who can't, and 1/3 of the Grawlix, writer, comedian, Andrew Orvedahl, which I'm sure you always get introduced as Overdahl. Do you?
It's true. It's true. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I do the shittiest introductions and leave you with no room to say anything.
No, it was great. That's true. My last name is literally misspelled on my Social Security card. That's not a joke. It's true. It's misspelled on my own Social Security card. So it's a tricky one.
But that would have been cool. That maybe would help you dodge the draft had there been one. But
it might have, because I never got like selective service mail or anything. So maybe I got out of it.
Yeah, right. Maybe you did. I wonder what other benefits there are to having your name misspelled. Did you have to fix it?
Maybe I have like a phantom identity. Maybe I should be out there like just getting away with stuff because I'm like technically a ghost in the system. Who knows?
No, I didn't do it. Andrew Overdahl did it.
I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah. They're like, it's clearly you. It's definitely you.
You did it. Oh, man. Well, you and I, have a big gap in our friendship where I, disappeared, I think, for many years. But I love that I got a little bonding time with you early on when my son was, toddler in a car seat driving to Wyoming. I always think of that as our bonding.
Like formative hell gigs of my whole comedy career together. And once you have that with another comedian, it bonds you on a level that really no amount of casual green room chats can compensate for, I think.
It's true. And thinking about that, it is that bonding experience of getting through. I mean, you were very ill. You had a stomach flu of some sort. I mean, you were losing your fluids and driving, I think, your father-in-law's car. It was storming and a snowstorm. Yeah. You got rear-ended.
Just to tell the listener the gist of it, we went up from Denver, Colorado to Wyoming, doing a classic Casper, Wyoming run. I forget the name of the venue. It's like the only bar in Casper, apparently. But we went
the Wonder Bar. The Wonder Bar.
The Wonder Bar. And
it's actually kind of a cool setup. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool space, and I'd done it before, and the shows were fun. I was excited to do it with you because I love your comedy. I liked hanging out with you, so I was like, cool, this will actually be, as a comedian, there are the road gigs that are insufferable because you're in a car with someone you don't like. There's like neutral ones, and then there's cool ones where you're like, oh, I like this person. So I was excited for a cool one. But yeah, I remember we had Taco John's for dinner.
I love Taco John's. And then we went and
did the show. I did too until this incident.
Do you think it was Taco John's?
No, I think, and then afterward, I went back to the hotel room and I got about as sick as I've ever been in my life. I probably threw up, without exaggerating, at least 40 times to where I mean, long ago, the food had stopped coming out and then it was just like the stomach bile and I just couldn't stop. And I think it was just some kind of norovirus that I got. But I remember.
But when you associate it with a food, you just cannot, your body won't let you. That's almost like a trauma.
Taco John's, unfortunately, because it was tasty. And
I didn't get sick. I just want to say defensive Taco John's. Of course, I have look at me. I have the digestion of a peasant, man. I do. I am the garbage disposal. We don't need a compost or a garbage disposal.
Of a peasant.
I do. I can.
Just snacking on some shoe leather.
Yes, old cans. I can digest anything. But also, I guess the blessing was it didn't really hit you till after the show, right? Or was it? Were you getting sick on stage? I felt
fine on the show, and it wasn't until I was back in my hotel room. And
so sick.
I was like, oh, weird. I've never had food poisoning in my life. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I got food poisoning. And then it just very quickly escalated to where I was like, maybe I'm dying in a Casper, Wyoming hotel room. That is what it seems like. It sucked and it was really scary. And I remember being super happy that you were there, not only because you're a nice and kind person, but also with your like nursing experience, you could actually be like, okay, we need to get you some fluids and stuff. Yeah. And I managed to make it through okay. And I remember your friend drove us home the next day because I was in no shape to drive. But I was like, boy, if I'd been up here by myself, just doing the run and there hadn't been another comedian, that would have just been like you 1,000 times worse. So
yeah, you're right. Because you were so
very grateful.
You were totally just pale green. And you get so weak when you lose all those fluids. Yeah. And then, it was so wild because I had, the toddler with us. And then my friend Brian, thank God your car is manual or
that's right. And the
automatic.
snowstorm was just the cherry
and it was
on
ice
top.
And then because we had gone in there and of course I'm like, oh, look at our name on it had a cool marquee with our names on it. Let's get a photo. We stopped to get a photo of the marquee. Oh man, I'm gonna see if I can find that somewhere. That'd be hilarious.
That's right, because I have a bit about getting hit by that guy because he hit and runned us. We stopped and I wanted to take a picture of the marquee.
And you were pulled over.
Rear-ended.
You were off. You were in the the little drop off.
I was kind of double parked with my hazards on. I remember, but it was like very clear that like, hey, this person's like stopped in front of the theater and this dude just smashed into the back of me in the snowstorm and he was hammered and he drove off into the night. And I remember the first time I threw up in the hotel room, I was like, oh, I bet this was stress from that accident. I bet it's just like my body being overwhelmed by stress. And then I thought it was food poisoning. And then I was like, oh no, I'm incredibly sick. I totally forgot about the car accident. I thought that happened a different time. Yeah, truly a road gig from hell. And then the blinding blizzard all the way home.
Oh man, and ice, just a sheet of ice. But we had, I think it was a nice Volvo that you were driving. So I felt we were very safe in that car. It got us home. We made it. We made it through. But yeah, it's bonding. I know. I remember those more. And it is weird how our brains maybe that is just how we survive, right? That's the whole trauma response. So you remember, let's not do that again. I'm not going to go, even though it's just an association. It's not a correlation. It's not a cause and effect, but the Taco John's, I had the same thing with a can of tuna once where I had just eaten tuna salad and then got so sick and I just never could go back. It's like, you
don't eat tuna since then?
I typically don't. I don't know that I ever opened. I don't want to say never. I definitely, I'm a wannabe vegan.
But in general, you don't like
I'm a wannabe vegan, but I do. No, in general, it's like if I look at the can, I can remember but that's that trauma response that you have that's where you get a trigger. Because if you have something, and that is life-threatening when you're losing your body fluids, like, hey, listen, people in third world countries die from this stuff all the time. In fact, my own son, who's from Nepal, was very sick in a hospital, and I don't think he would be alive without Western money and me saving his life. I remind him when it's time to take the trash out. I saved your life. Take the trash out. No, but I rarely.
No big deal. Yeah, the ultimate guilt trip.
I have rarely ever used it, but I mean, the orphanage director visited us this year. He's 19, so 18 years later, and I thought it was cool that he came to follow up. Because
cool.
he really felt responsible for these kids, and he said one of them really wasn't doing well, that he had adopted to another country. And he felt very bad about it. And then so he came here and he told my son, he goes, your mother saved your life. And I was like, see, but really what happened was
Can I get that in writing? Hey, real quick, could you write that down?
Get it on video and just on a boomerang loop on Instagram. I'm in that sunny weird. I'm not using. I wasn't using any video on this, but now I don't know. I couldn't tell. Like the first season, I didn't do any video. Then Ben Roy encouraged me to try the Zoom, which I couldn't figure out. I'm so embarrassed. I could not figure out how to get my audio from the Zoom into my headphones, and all it was this one channel that has the little symbol, the USB symbol. I still haven't told him. We spent 45 minutes on that.
Everyone's doing video now. It's the new thing.
I know, but
podcasting used to be easy. It was just chatting, and now I gotta scrape the food off my face to chat. All right.
Well, and I hate looking at my lazy eye in the camera, but also just I don't know. I just don't like. I don't want to feel like I'm performing. I really want to just. I feel like it lets me drop into my body easier when I'm not on video.
I agree.
So we can turn off the video if we want. But where was I? I was just all over the place. No, my son, I'm just going to finish that. I'll probably edit it out. But he needed IV antibiotics, and he was getting reinfected in the hospital from the way they wash the diapers on the floor of the bathroom, which is every nurse knows. That's where the superbugs are. It was an interesting choice. And their cloth, they would just lay him on the ground and throw buckets of water on him and kind of rinse him in another bucket and then hang him. And it just was like,
just a broth of germs.
A petri dish, a diaper, and then it would not quite be dry. They'd hang it on the foot of the bed, and then when it would sort of be dry, they'd put it back on him, and he kept getting these kidney infections. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So saved his life, took him out of the hospital, gave him the ugly American diapers and IV antibiotics. But yeah, the stuff that you had was life-threatening, and so that is why it is anchored forever in your mind. But today,
Yep.
Well, and then you know, it's good to laugh. That's what we're doing here. You know, I'm studying therapeutic humor. I'm learning about what we already know intuitively. Comics just do this naturally. Thank God. Whatever, I don't know how and why we chose to take our pain and play with it and not get it all stuck in our bodies. Like so many people don't know how to do this, and so that's what we're doing here is kind of showing them. Take a bit. Sometimes we take a bit. We deconstruct it. You can even like send me an MP3 of a bit, or we can just talk about it. But what I like to hear is, how have you, as a comedian, taken your pain, I guess, how have you taken your pain and played with it? Like, how can you show examples of that? Like, is there a bit like that is like, oh my God, people don't know that this bit actually represents so much trauma. You know, because so many people get isolated with their trauma. They think nobody's been through this horrible thing, because it is that kind of trick in our mind, like we're the only ones suffering this way. I don't know if that makes sense, but does any of that ring true for you?
Yeah, I think so. This is kind of perfect timing because I just tried a new bit last night that was kind of, I think, emblematic of what you're talking about. Last year, I got a vasectomy and they like botched it. And they botched it in a way, not so that I can still accidentally get people pregnant. They botched it in a way so that it felt like I was getting randomly kicked in the nuts, minus the fun part of getting kicked in the nuts, I guess. And it was well past the healing window. And I was like, this is messed up. This is like, my body is not the same way it was because of vasectomy. I have a whole bit about it and I don't want to get into the whole bit, but a vasectomy is supposed to be very routine and, the complications are few and far between. And it's like, this is no problem. And this whole thing. And I was like, well, it messed me up and my body's not working the way it was supposed to. And it's like genuinely uncomfortable for me. Like, does not feel good to feel like you got kicked in the nuts and
just constantly hurting, like aching. Yeah. Or was it knifey pain or
phantom pain? There's like both a sharp pain and an ache. And obviously like right after healing, that was like natural, but then it was like well after the healing period. And I talked to some of my friends who had vasectomies and they were also like, oh yeah, mine was screwed up too. And I was like, did you go to the doctor? And they're like, no, I never went to the doctor. And I think there's this like stigma of like going back or even like saying like, hey, this didn't work out the way it was supposed to. And it was supposed to be like very easy and routine. And it was not that. And so I did go back to the doctor and I was like, hey, I need you to fix this. You blew it. And the doctor did not want to fix it. It was kind of baffling how at first he was like, oh, I think you know what it is. I think you just have a hernia. That's what it is. I'm like, I've never been diagnosed with a hernia in my life. You're telling me I just randomly got a hernia the same time that you were like going to work in my nuts? Like that seems like kind of a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
And then his pitch was, you know what you could do is before sex, you could just take a few ibuprofen. And I was like, for the rest of my life, like that's the fix is for the rest of my life. I got to eat a handful of Advil before I get it on. I was like, that's not. That.
Oh no, you froze. Did I lose you? Hang on, I can't hear you.
None of my other male friends who had any issues, they just like lived with them. They were just like, I'll just swallow it and just live with my botched vasectomy, which was, well, sad. It was sad that they're living that way and just kind of like illuminating that like, oh, this seems to happen more often than it seems just because guys don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Tough nuts, you got, you just like that whole stoicism thing. And also who wants to go have their nuts manipulated again? It's not a comfortable scene. Yeah, I'm sure. Like you lay on the table and I'm sure they drape you and get your junk, get your junk, like they have the little window. They have an
hour of imaging. And it's like, I feel bad for anyone who has spent an hour with testicles. Like they're so gross and to have to spend an hour with them. Cause as a guy, your healthcare for nuts when you go to the doctor is always like seconds. They'll grab them, have you cough to check for hernia. That's a few seconds. And sometimes they'll give you the testicular cancer exam, which again is like seconds. And an hour, it's an
hour of just manipulating
my nuts. Yeah. And that's what it was. So, and I think, that alone, I think some guys are like, I just don't want that. And I was really on the fence about talking about it as a bit because it's a kind of, I turned it into a funny story, but I was like, do I even want to talk about this on stage? Like, I already tell the story about getting the vasectomy, which people like, and it works very well as a bit. But I was like, do I want to be like talking about this part? And I was like, but after talking to my friends who were like, no, I never dealt with it. I never went back.
And so like, you're helping people
talk about it. Yeah. I want to like get it out there and be like, hey, I'll tell a room full of strangers that they botched it, and that I had to go back in. Like, I don't care. I don't care what, if they think that's weird or whatever, like it's ultimately it's worth it to me if even one person in the crowd is like, you know what, I'm going to go back in and be like, hey, you didn't do this right. Something is
wrong.
Fucked up.
Something is wrong. I got to tell you, your video and audio froze for a minute back about when you were saying that. I wanted to hear the rest of what that doctor said, but I don't know if it captured on the cloud recording of Zoom. But
I can say it again.
And I can edit. Yeah. So what did I want to hear. So the last thing I heard was he was making these kind of excuses that it might be a hernia. Oh, well, or you should just endure it. Take Motrin every time you want to have sex. And
he was like,
and that's 45 minutes, by the way. That's
exactly.
Like a man who, if you don't need Viagra's hard. And like, you got to plan ahead to make sweet love. And it's like, hold on, honey, hold on. I got to take my 800 milligrams of Motrin, and it takes an hour for that to kick in.
That's what I say in the bit. It's like, that's so ridiculous. Like, yeah, let me just eat a handful of Advil. We'll circle back in an hour. Well, let's watch a show. We can watch an episode of Bake Off. We'll get back into it when it kicks in. But,
nothing.
But he was genuinely okay with that being the fix for the rest of my life, which was just like baffling that it's like,
yeah.
What?
No.
Like, that's not the fix. Like, no one gets a vasectomy thinking like, well, I might have to take some kind of painkiller for the rest of my life as a result of this. That's never
not acceptable.
That you would consider when you're getting it. And
I want to hear how you advocated for yourself. How did you tell this doctor, no, actually, this needs to get fixed? What were they, adhesions or something? I'm guessing, or what caused like adhesions to the nerve, maybe, or what did he say? Did he have to release something? Okay, I asked two things. First of all, how did you advocate for yourself? I got to watch my ADHD because I didn't take my med today. So, yes, how did you convince or how did you advocate for yourself that this needs to get done? Checked.
I advocated for myself just by kind of being persistent. Of like, I'm always like very. I shouldn't say always because there's, probably an exception here or there, but I'm pretty good at staying very even keeled, even when like in my head, I am mad, like both of his suggestions, the hernia would also made me mad just because it was weird that he would just like toss that out there. And it wasn't a hernia. Like, of course they found out when they did the imaging, there was no sign of a hernia. And it was like, you just like riffed a hernia in the hopes that I would like leave the office and be like, all right, well, I guess I have a hernia. But I was like, well, if I have a hernia, I'm also getting that fixed. Like, so it's one way or the other.
Good point. Yeah.
It was just kind of being politely persistent of like, I don't think that's it. And I want to know what is going on kind of. And, but yeah, just being polite and cool, even though that was a case where for sure there was a moment where I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I kind of wanted to just be like, you think for the rest of my life, I should just be popping Advil because of this like phantom pain from the procedure you gave me? Like that doesn't track is right. And then, the third thing he said was he changed the healing window and he was like, it could take up to a year to heal. And I was like, at no point in any of this was it ever said it could take up to a year to heal. They're like, oh, it should be like basically back to normal. And I don't remember what it was, but it was far, far less time than a year. But then suddenly it could take up to a year to heal.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what? Like, that's totally new. So, anyway. So
but
it was
you
just kind of polite
persistence. And then once he acquiesced and said, okay, we'll do another scan. Well,
and it was a vascular issue with like the veins in there. And I don't know entirely like how the procedure would cause it, but yeah, it was basically causing like pressure buildup like inside my nuts because of I refuse to be an adult, I guess, about it still. Nuts. My nuts. I won't say testicles with the veins in there. So maybe all he had to do was to go through the steps of like, oh yeah, I'll do all the imaging and I'll like check this out. But he was just like very quick to just like come up with these other things that weren't solutions at all. So Yeah. I mean, that's the way to all medical care is. Like you go there in the hopes of like, I'm going to see a professional. I'm going to see hopefully the last word in whatever this medical subject is. But as every adult knows who's had any kind of, and you probably more than most with actual healthcare industry experience, like doctors, like every job, they run the whole range of quality. And so if your gut's telling you like, I don't think that maybe this is the right answer, or I'm not happy with this answer, like keep trying to get answers. You don't have to, if you can. I
love that. I love that you mentioned the gut, because we know now that there are actual brain neurons all lining our gut, that our brain outsourced to this. I don't know which came first, actually, because I've watched, my mother had Parkinson's and we were watching, that's one of the first symptoms with the gut problems. And it turns out because the neurons in the gut. But man, there's a lot of intelligence in there that you don't. I love that we can't argue it. Like, it doesn't do the ego thing. Your gut doesn't do, oh, he's saying this, therefore it just is, and trust it. Like, it knows. It's a knowing place. I love that you mentioned the gut, because so much trauma is
people always cite it. They're always like, trust your gut. And no one's ever like, the gut's unreliable. If you're like, yep, I should.
Yeah,
it is.
That would be a great debate. The brain and gut debate. Like where, because the gut, it doesn't lie. And I'm at, this age of my life, finally, like, stop arguing with it because of what I have a lot of sickness in my mind from codependency and getting attracted to the wrong people and trying to rationalize relationships. And my gut is telling me, you're not safe here, but I stay because I can fix it.
Right.
But back to the hospital or the doctor, I'm also curious. So after he did the scan, and while you're under the scan, he's doing this tiny vascular surgery, right? He's releasing the veins or whatever was causing the pain. Like I keep picturing like a little adhesion in the veins where they can't do what they're naturally supposed to do to have an erection, which is engorge. So I know obviously I can't say it with just a flat, like, either, like engorge.
And if you got to talk that way to your doctor, talk that way to your doctor. As long as you're able to say something to them, say the funny term, but it's worth it to say something and get your shit fixed.
Yeah, say it in a cartoon voice, like, my nuts when I'm engorged. Ow, ow. Like,
my boner hurts. Whatever you got to say, say it.
And that's just, I have this, whatever. I'm going through pelvic floor physical therapy because I cannot seem to have intercourse without some pain, and it's like, no, I refuse. It's like, this is my birthright, and I don't feel like I should be forced to be a lesbian because a penis. Come on, if a baby can go through these parts, then surely a penis can make it in there. I have to do Lamaze breathing to have sex. You know what I mean? It's like, we can do it. Ow. You got
this. You got this.
That's, I think, why a higher power knew I should not have babies if I cannot actually accommodate the penis.
For sure.
But I'm working on it. I just want to say, and I finally found like people that will help me, and like, you know what? This is something that you can work with. And it's awkward. I'm going to a physical therapist who is, helping me, and I'm having to do these. One of my guests was talking about the same thing: vagina exercises. I have to do vagina exercise. Yeah. Uncle Nance doing vagina exercises.
You're doing the work. I mean, you had to get out there and have the awkward conversation with someone, and now you're like doing the work, and so good for you. Getting it.
Yeah,
because there's other people out there that are just like, this hurts and it sucks and it's dead of my life, and I'm just going to live the next 50 years of my life just living this way. And it's like, that's a bummer. Like, at least try, even if it doesn't work out. At least you knew you're like, hey, I really tried to fix this. And
there's a way. And I agree. Like people do just put up with pain sometimes. Like, oh, it just has always been that way, so it always will be that way. And also there's some trauma associated, like just to release the what I have been told, I don't want to brag, but just hypertonicity. I'm like on guard, like nobody's getting in here. You know, like if you've had a sexual trauma, there's a part of you that's just like, brace yourself, you know, girls. Yeah. So, but back again, I'm going back and forth, but I wanted to know, after you got this release, the vascular, after he corrected whatever happened, then how long was the healing? And did you get free? Did you get free of pain?
Yeah, it was like night and day difference, much better. And yeah, all it took was just that little having to just speak up and not just live that way for the rest of my life and just think like, I guess this is just it.
Yes, and beautiful. So, and you know, because I do feel like sexual pleasure is like, this is the soul agreement. When we came to Earth to deal with all the shit, like this is our reward. That's what I look at it like. I look at sexual pleasure, the bliss, the orgasmic bliss as the reward for making the soul journey down here. Like that, come on, you deserve it. You deserve the bliss.
Reliable, well, I shouldn't say reliably, but usually reliably great, free, very pleasurable parts of being a human being. There's other pleasures, but a lot of times they require substances or they require resources or something, but it's one of those baseline human things. It's great. And if something happens to your body that changes your enjoyment of that, you should try to get that back, even if it means you gotta go back into the doctor. You gotta tell, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, you should say something.
Yes.
If you feel something, say something.
That's right.
It's like the sticker.
That's our bumper sticker. Feel something, say something.
Yeah. Well, my friends who I talked to, they just, for whatever reason, they just didn't want to. I think it is maybe just the stigma of, like, oh, they said there wasn't supposed to be any issue, and I'm feeling an issue. But I don't want to make waves, or I don't. Yeah,
there's something wrong with me, or yeah.
But it's like, no, you got to just take care of yourself. Say something.
And it's okay to give a 1-star Yelp review now and then. Like, I mean, I'd like to see those Yelp reviews on that guy.
I'm still on the fence about leaving a review for that doctor, because I'm like, well, my issue ultimately got resolved, but I'm like, should I put it out there like a warning of like, hey,
well, I think a 3. Okay, what about a 3? Let's look at the star review. This could be kind of a bit too. Like, I think it would be really helpful, and it could be a long review. You don't have to just be like 1 star, motherfucker. You know, you can be like 2.5. He actually did a good job in the end, but I really had to advocate for myself. And here's how, I mean, really the long version, although that's not funny, but I think there could be a bit around the Yelp review that you write.
I could list through the stars for and the stars against for sure. But yeah, it's a general warning. It might help people just to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to say something because this guy is known to gloss over issues or whatever,
and keep extending the healing time. Oh yeah, and the next year you go back, maybe it takes 2 years. Oh,
exactly. It's actually a rest of the life healing window. What are you saying?
And then they'll start blaming it on the aging process. Oh, it could just be. So I think it would be helpful. I like informative things like that. It's not vindictive. It's actually like, I want to help people know, like, if you're after 6 weeks or whatever the window is supposed to be, you still having discomfort, make sure you go back. Get it fixed sooner than later.
I definitely did not want to. That was the other worry. Is I was like, I do not want to scare people away from this, because I think this is ultimately very good, especially with like reproductive rights for women being under fire in so many places.
Yeah, that's what I was. I was really aware that you were doing this as an advocate for women, that you're taking, you know what I mean? I wanted to get to that, because I was like, but it was like, hey, I can also take care of this shit on my end. It doesn't always have to be like, oh, you got to take birth control that you hate taking. You got to take this, like, hey, if you know you don't want to have any more kids, you can go take care of it on your end. And that's one less thing women partners that you would have to worry about. So I definitely did not want anyone to be like, oh, I'm never getting a vasectomy. If they're going to fuck it up and I'm going to get hurt. Like it's like, do not let that be the takeaway, but just know that if there is an issue, you should speak up. There's a remedy. And there is a remedy. And now you're enjoying sex again. Hallelujah.
Well, I'm single, but in theory I could. In theory I could. Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes our solo sex life is valid. Let me just say that. It's okay to make love with yourself. I'm doing, do you know, I know you know him because you're cited in the book, the Humor Code with Pete McGraw.
Oh, yeah.
And he hosts those solo salons. I'm going to have him on as a guest soon.
I don't know about the solo salon. What's that?
Oh, man. He has a podcast. What is it? Solo Life? Solo. I forgot the name.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
Yeah.
It's
so he's like thriving. Yeah.
Something?
Thriving as a single person in a society that really tries to, enforce coupling. So he has these solo salons and they're pretty groovy. The people that are there are fun. I've gone a few times. It's sort of like the old Renaissance salon of the artists getting together and philosophizing about, is it phizing? See, I can't even say the word. No. I can't philosophize. Is it philosophizing or philophizing? I can't even say it. I guess I can't do it. But I just go as I'm just the clown, okay? I'm just the comedic relief from the philosophizing. But anyway, it's kind of cool, fun people talking about can you feel fulfilled and thrive and never really couple, It's interesting, I think. I don't know what my point is other than solo life and making time for oneself. But you're single right now. So I don't know what I was going to say about being single, but are you wanting to date? Are you out there on the dating apps?
No, I'm not at all. Historically, I've always met my partners just through real life and I just met this person in the world. And that's great. That's I know that's I guess that's an old fashioned idea these days, but that's always how I would meet people. I was never on any dating apps or anything, but it seems like more and more these days, that's how people meet. And it certainly is the more popular way to do it. I tried it for my own podcast. I've got a kind of a world improving podcast I do with some buddies. And one of the things we did in there was try to get me into the online dating scene. And I made a profile. It was a dating site for dog lovers called Dig Dating. And the reason I did it was because I have 2 dogs. I've got these 2 huskies and they're a big part of my life. Obviously not just because I want to take great care of them and give them a great life, but they're huskies, which are, if you don't know, a very high energy, very independent breed. They can't be around certain animals, very specifically cats. And I've often attracted partners who had a cat. And so it's right from the jump, it's neither one of us can spend the night at the other person's house unless we get a pet sitter, because I can't bring my dogs to your house and you can't bring your cat to my house. So right from the get-go, there's kind of this little issue, which over time could become a bigger issue. But on this dating site, this is for dog lovers and you can say what kind of dogs you have. So I was like, wow, what a head start on relationships, because I'll be like, I've got these 2 huskies, and then any dog lover's going to be like, oh, I know what I'm getting into with this. Okay. And so I thought that it was kind of a good first step.
I love that because it's
0 matches.
What? You had 0?
I had nothing. It
must be a really small.
There was a small pool because most people don't know it exists, but yeah, I had 0. My guess was that they were like, huskies. No, thanks. I don't want this. But
because that's a special kind of engagement with animals. With huskies, they're highly intelligent. They actually talk. I mean, what I understand. And then I have a sled doggish. We have a Samoyed here,
yeah.
And they kind of talk, and she's very much a pack animal. Oh my gosh, she's always looking, where'd she go? So there's, there's a tight bond with I'm thinking with Huskies too, right? Where you're like, you're the kind of dog dad that's like, I'm not leaving my dogs alone for a night.
Yeah, they're my best buds. I would not leave them alone overnight. I'd get someone to watch them if in any case, but yeah, it is a tall. I remember I went on during the pandemic. I was taking these. I don't know what the right word is. I was going on these like walking dates with this woman. I called it Victorian dating because we were like basically walking 6 feet apart around the park a few days a week. Cause this was like really during the pandemic portion where, you just didn't even want to be close to a person really. And so we would take these very chaste walks around the park and talk and
with like a little fan over your face, like a
kind of get to know each other and stuff. And I would bring my dogs on the walk and it was great. And then one time I brought them and my dogs escaped. They jumped out of the car as I was like getting them out and they ran off into the neighborhood, which is what they do when they get out. They immediately flee.
Boys. Are they
like
boys?
Game.
Are they both boys?
It's a boy and a girl, but the boy
sorry.
is the one who instigates this bullshit and keeps it going.
Anyway, sorry.
The girl dog would just come back to me on her own. But so he's like...
He's the leader.
They get out of the car. They run. They think it's a hilarious game. They're running around Capitol Hill, Denver. I'm like... I'm screaming after them. I'm running after them. This woman is watching all of this. I'm trying to corral them. I'm terrified that they're going to get hit by a car.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Or that they'll just keep running. They're in the heart of the city and they could just, it's cold out. They could run all.
And they're known.
Day.
And that's how we got our dog. She obviously ran from her people. She wasn't chipped. And they said they can go for miles.
Yeah,
and they'll end up in another. They can end up in another town. So your fear was valid.
Luckily I managed to corral them back, but that woman never met up with me again. That was like, I think maybe she saw that and she was like, I don't want this in my life. Even though that was rare, it's pretty rare that they've escaped the yard a couple times, and that was the rare city breakout. But that was our last date, and we never hung out after that. But
she couldn't handle the sense of chaos or like that you can't control your dog. So how are you going to dominate me in bed?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know. Well, sometimes, I don't know. No, seriously, like some people really need to be dominated. I don't know if that's her. I'm just saying that might have been like one of those things where I love it though. I love things that are real that actually help the truth come to the surface faster. Like probably not a good match, right? If she's looking for somebody that has absolute power and control over their dog. What is that? Where is she looking for that? I don't know. I'm just saying. If she can't handle the fact that you are vulnerable sometimes.
It could have just been the kind of crazy chaos of the dogs and being like, this is just something I don't want to be dealing with in my life, is like this level of confusion and yelling and stuff. But
anyway, sometimes things like that weed people out. I like the idea of it. My son has gotten rid of so many mismatches for me, whether it's the dog or a child. It does weed out some people. Like the guy I'm seeing somebody, and I met organically. I love the idea of meeting organically. I actually do like that because then it's like, okay, somehow we're in the same place at the same time for a reason. Like this was a Grateful Dead tribute band. I really my friend was playing bass, so I just went to support and just hang out. And then this guy was there and he just really loved hanging out at the music. So whatever, I don't know what my point is. He has a child that's 2 years older than my son who went to the same high school and he lives in my neighborhood. And it was just like, man, this feels great to have somebody. And he said, I don't think I could date someone who does not have a child because it changes you in a way that other people cannot understand. That level of commitment to parenting. You have a daughter, you have a child, a couple years, a few years,
daughter,
14. Yeah. My son's 19, his is 21, but there is something there. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I know we're going off on different subjects, but do you feel like you could date a woman who has never parented, or how does that?
Yeah, I've dated both. I've dated, and I think it is, in my experience, it was a little more situational for each person. I dated people who didn't have any kids, but were like super cool, and like they kind of integrated with our group in a great way, and there weren't any issues. And then I've dated people who didn't have kids, and it was not great. Like the kid, like they felt like they were competing for attention with my kid, and I was kind of like, that's not how it is. It's different attention, first of all, but secondly, if you think that's how that is, then you'll always lose, because this is my kid. This is my kid who
That's right.
Is
Number one.
I'll love them for the rest of my life, and they'll be, this hugely important part of my life. It doesn't mean I can't love other people and give other people attention, but it's just different. And it shouldn't absolutely not ever feel like a competition, because that's just weird. Like it's not, and it wasn't even like I was ignoring them, like, sorry, I'm hanging out with my daughter and you can't come along. It wasn't like weird like that. It was just this person clearly felt like they just were getting cheated out of it. It was, anyway, that one didn't work out.
Yeah, that one clearly didn't work out.
But then I dated someone who did have a kid, and this is back when our kids were smaller, like around 6 years old. And I actually found that tough, because then I was suddenly a step parent, not legally because we didn't get married, but basically a step parent because we were all living together. And it was weird to have two kids in the house, one of whom was mine and one of whom was not. And the parenting style was just really weird, because I felt, I had like a wealth of patience for my kid and almost no patience for this poor other kid, because he was also like a little chimpanzee. He was like a very wild little guy. And it was just very different. And I had a tough time with that, because I was like, I hate feeling like the bad guy, because I'm like, I said go to bed, I said keep it down, I'm turning into like a cartoon strip kind of grumpy stepdad, which is someone I never wanted to be. So that was a little trickier, because that sort of balance of parenting, you don't just automatically calibrate to the other person's kid. It takes, takes some doing, but ultimately it was okay. Like I love that kid. We're still friends. I'm still friends with that woman. We all still get along great. And ultimately it worked out, but it was tricky for sure.
Yeah, I think the age of the kids makes a huge difference. I never wanted to date somebody who had a kid when I just was, I was at the end of whatever nurturing ability I had. And I already knew, like, I'm just not going to have enough generosity, and I just could not handle. Yeah. I did not date anybody at that time. Now
your adult son, is he supportive or critical of your relationships? Is he like, cool, go mom, go? Or is he kind of like, whatever?
He is appropriately critical of people I have dated. Like I said, he has helped me see through my trauma bonds and stuff. Like the last boyfriend I had like many red flags that my gut was miserable. I just had, this trauma bond. I loved him kind of in that way that you could feel was like, I could tell it was an addictive kind of feeling, like must have him, and it got to make it work. And there's so many things that he ticked so many of the boxes, like musician. I have a thing, my family, I grew up, with a music in my house. My father was a musician, not professionally, but he could have been. And then I just loved, oh my God, music in the house. Intellectual. I have this thing for scholars because I'm not one, but my dad, I hate to admit it's a textbook case, but my son was like, ooh, like this guy is a weasel. Like and he was right. This guy had a, big, deep deficiency in empathy and had some other creepy factors, honestly. So yeah. And he's weeded out like another guy I dated who was a sailor We were on a sailboat for 3 weeks. Oh,
wow.
man. I got to tell you, if you ever want to know, is this relationship going to work? Get in a confined area for 3 weeks and you'll be done. You'll know. You will know.
The pressure cooker. Yeah.
Yeah. Get a little RV or something or a tiny house. And like, we're holing up in here. Let's not waste 5 years like I did with that other guy. This one was done 3 weeks. And my son was like such a dick. He was being such an asshole, but it was appropriate because this guy was being very disrespectful. Anyway, so yeah. And then the guy I'm seeing now, he's like, now he's my barometer because I'll check in with him. And I do tell him, and maybe I've overempowered him, but I trust him. And he is 19 now. He does still live at home. But I'm like, now it's not so much like I would ever have to choose between my son and a partner. But I'll ask him, like, what do you think of this guy? Do you get anything I might be missing? And he's like, no, yeah, he seems great. And I was like, yeah, oh, okay.
That's good.
No pressure. It's not his responsibility. But he does read people really well.
Yeah, and he knows. I mean, he's spent basically his entire life with you, so he knows. he knows you and your ins and outs as well. And yeah, I think that's great. Why not get a little wisdom that way?
And he's studying psychology, which of course, I think that's the second worst thing your child can do as a sign of improper parenting. Like, number one is comedy. Number two is I'm going to be a psychologist. That just says so much about like, free therapy down the road. There's a lot of shit that went down. Well, I mean, I am a big co-creator with the Loving Universe. I'm highly spiritual, so if you want, I'll put out a vision for you. If you want to list anything you want with your partner, happy to put it out to the Loving Universe, or you can do that privately. I'm just telling you, man, I believe in manifesting. I believe in getting really clear about as much as you can. Obviously, there's nuances, but I feel this sense of, like at least recognizing them when you see them. If you're really clear, like here are the things that I really feel are healthy and for me to have a healthy, loving relationship, these are characteristics I look for. This is, somebody with dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Or at least loving dogs,
Yeah, really loving them. Anything else you would like me to put out there?
I mean, that's probably the main thing.
So when you were on your podcast, it's called
Dogs and Kids.
Grawlix. Is it the Grawlix Saves the World or Grawlix?
Grawlix Saves the World. Yep.
Grawlix. You got to say it that way. I was saying Grawlix. Where does that come from? Grawlix. How many times have you had that question? Grawlix.
I've had it a few times. I'd like it more because that would mean that people are checking out the show. But a Grawlix is when in a comic strip when the characters are cussing and obviously they can't have them cuss. They just put in a bunch of symbols, like Beetle Bailey or whatever. It'll just be like a bunch of punctuation symbols. That's called a Grawlix, and it's like a replacement for swear words.
I never knew this.
It's one of those little crossword puzzle words that, the average person has no idea.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's a terrible name for a comedy group.
I think
no one knows.
I actually love it. I think it adds the mystery, and the word itself is very powerful. Like I love words that end with that X, like Grawlix.
Grawlix, yeah.
Grawlix. I'm saying it wrong.
It's really unique. We don't have to worry about anyone doubling up on it, but yep. So we're a live comedy group, but then we also have our podcast, The Grawlix Saves the World, where we try to make your world a better place. Hopefully we're trying to also do a little good in the world. So
I love all three of you guys. I got to interview Ben Roy and I got to interview Adam Caton Holland this week. And so I'm excited.
Oh, nice.
I know. I feel like I scored because I love that all of you have, been such thoughtful, compassionate, you guys have, you can be assholes. And I love that you're assholes to each other. Like that's where you get it out. You're just like, let's be dicks to each other verbally out loud. And, just the way you play with each other with that kind of, I don't know, pseudo meanness or maybe actual meanness sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's just the luxury of we have worked together now for 20 years, basically 19, 20 years. And
oh man,
when you have that level of familiarity, it's kind of like siblings. That's what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, we like tease each other and we're mean to each other in the same way that you can be that way with a sibling, because, at the end of the day, your baseline, like, bonded together. Like, we just have known each other that long and have enough of that history.
Yeah,
so
the baseline.
Yeah, it's fun to tease each other and say mean things. And luckily I think it works really well for our chemistry, because when people listen to us or see our live show, they're like, oh yeah, this is like being around good old friends who are giving each other a hard time. That
yes, I love it. I love it. I love the tension. It, reminds me a little bit of the Smothers Brothers. I love the Smothers Brothers. Tommy just died this week, so I've been or last week or whatever. I've been watching a lot of old Smothers Brothers. It's just now it's in my algorithm because I'm watching them. But you know how I just love that. I love that given the shit given back and forth, and then it's cool. How did you guys like? This is one thing with traumedy and therapeutic humor that I talk about, where it's nuanced. Like, people in this association I'm in, it's a little goody two shoes. I'm trying to bring up more dark humor, more gallows humor, because nurses need it. People that have suffered a lot of trauma actually really need the dark humor, and so. You guys, how did you bond? How did you ever how did you find I call it your vibe, because I'm trying not to do cultural appropriation with the word tribe, but how did you find how did you find your vibe? Like, how did you know, I'm so jealous that you found these people, and they're such a force. You're a force, and you did a sitcom, and you're doing these live shows, and you do the podcast, and I love it. And I'm a little jealous of it because I haven't found that with a group like that. And I adore watching a group that has that kind of chemistry.
We were all kind of in the same, I guess I'd call it a class of comedy. As you know, there's just these it seems like there's these phases, and like a bunch of new comedians enter the scene, and they're kind of like their little class or whatever. And we all kind of started in the same class, and we were doing stand-up all over Denver together, doing shows. And then it was just kind of fortuitous. It became a period in comedy where independent comedian run shows started to become popular. And maybe there were these earlier in the 90s and 80s. I wasn't really familiar with them, and I hadn't necessarily heard of them. It seemed like comedy was more like, it happens at comedy clubs. It happens at these like special events. And it was less about, it's like these comedians, they just put on a show of their own in this little in this little secret room or whatever. But there was this kind of in those early 2000s, this movement where independent creator run comedy shows were like becoming a much more popular thing. They were popping up not only in Denver, but in other cities as well. And so you would just go to the show that was run by the comics putting it on. A lot of times it's a tiny, tiny little venue. The comics are setting up the chairs. And so we were like, oh, well, we should get into this too. And so we formed, the first group was called Los Comicos Super Hilariosos. And we did it at a dive bar, and then we moved it to an art gallery.
How did you get? I want to know how that name, what happened there, where you're like, you know what, we're Adam not Hispanic.
But Spanish. Yeah,
what?
Adam is fluent in Spanish, and so he named it that. And it is a funny name, because you would think that we would get a lot of Spanish speaking people thinking that oh, finally a comedy show in Spanish. No, it's not that at all. But yeah, we did that for a number of years around Denver, and it just grew. And we'd have a cooler of beers, and it almost had almost like a speakeasy vibe, where it was just like, you just knew about this show and you could just come down and hang out and check it out. And then we had some lineup changes where it kind of got whittled down to just the three of us, and we changed the name, and again, just kept moving from venue to venue. But I think it was the rise of the independent show which kind of helped glue us together, because it was like, we weren't just doing shows together, we were putting on shows together. And so then you get that working relationship that's a little different than just being peers, where you're both just at the green room at the Comedy Works, chatting. But it's not our show. We're just down at the club, doing sets.
Right.
So
all you have to do is grab the microphone. But this, you got to produce, you got to organize, you got to market it. So did you find that
you did everything? You book the show, every facet of it.
And you figured out somehow, it's just so cool. And that it worked, that you guys you're all different enough that you took on different roles. And then the chemistry I love your chemistry. It's amazing. I just think it's incredible. Like when you guys start, I just love watching you guys ding each other.
Yeah, it's fun. I think the secret glue though, is that we all have a very similar work ethic where we're always like, oh, I want to be working on a project, or I always want to be, what's new, what's next? Like, how can we do this? And I don't think any of us are really like content to be like, well, we did this and we can just stop, or we can just coast. I think having a pretty mutual work ethic is really helpful too, just for the sake of, if one person is kind of lagging a bit, you can like pick them up, and we're all kind of, always kind of moving on together as a group.
That's really impressive, because you work hard.
Works.
Yeah, you guys work hard. You
tried to.
Man, you did a sitcom. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, that's a business. That's a big business. You did it. And also your sensibility is similar. You all have very high vocabularies. You seem to have high. It's not always highbrow humor, but you definitely access, I can tell, I don't always even know all the words that you use, like Grawlix. I did not know, for example. So yeah, that's cool. The sensitivity, the work ethic. I mean, I just love how the universe put you together. That's the way I choose to look at it, that way. But you guys can isn't it amazing? Like how who knows, like there's this moment where all of a sudden you're a thing, and here it is 20 years later. And how can you imagine your life without this group? Be so different. Yeah.
It's crazy.
The things that
flew by.
The things that you come up with. I've done a lot of group sketch writing and also activist theater, and I just love co-creating with people. And I love that, like the thing that you would never come up with on your own, that you ping off each other, and then kind of, I feel like it takes on this almost like it's like it raises the frequency, and it gets a little life force of its own then, and y'all hold it together like a hologram. I don't know why I'm getting like, I need to see it. I need to see that you're working on a sculpture together. Well, totally. So is there anything that you are on? I did not do all my homework today. I was like, oh, what are you doing right now? What projects are you on? What can we tell people about as far as seeing you, listening to you probably have albums out there, specials. What should we tell folks about?
Yeah, I've got a couple albums you can check out. The first one's called Hit the Dick Lights. The second one's called Alexa, Play Creed. Sorry if you were listening to this on speakers, but I'm about to record my third album here in Denver. I'm not sure when this episode will drop, but if it drops in time, February 9th and 10th, I will be recording my third album at the Denver Comedy Underground. Those tickets are on sale right now, so check that out.
Awesome. I'll put a link. Yes, I'll put this up. I can put
my third album.
Yes, I'll absolutely put this up in time for that. In fact, yeah, because I don't have to do any. I'm just relaunching the second season next Tuesday. I do an episode every Tuesday, and so I have you guys as 1, 2, 3, but it doesn't. I'll put yours first, because then we'll actually give time for people to come to the I love the Underground. It's a great space. Ben Bryant. I got to get Ben on here. Yeah, Ben Bryant runs that. He moved to New York, but I think he's still running that room, isn't he? Or is somebody else?
Yeah, he's here all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great room. Oh, that's going to be good. So your new album, 9th and 10th, I'll put a link in the whatever show notes, as they say. And what else? So the Grawlix Saves the World.
Grawlix Saves the World podcast, which you could find anywhere you like podcasts. We have if you're listening to this in the Denver area, we have a live show called The Grawlix. It's the last Saturday of every month. We do it at the Bug Theater, which is a cool space.
I love that.
And yeah, we just do stand up. We always do new stand up every show. So we got to come up with 10 new minutes every time. And it's a bunch of fun. And
that's so amazing. Yeah. 10 minutes every time. That's impressive.
Month, 10 new minutes.
Wow. I don't think I've written 10 minutes in the last 10 years. I'm really like,
that's not true.
I honestly, I have, I don't have a Netflix special. I think I have 6 followers on my Spotify for my album. So, hey, I can regurgitate stuff. That's my agreement with myself. I'll save but I do. I write a little bit. I love to write on stage, and then I got to just remember what happened. But yeah. Anything else you'd like to share with people who may be out there dealing with trauma, having like how you've like, I don't know, anything that just comes to you, no pressure, just if something is like, oh, this thing really helps me when I get triggered, or I don't know if you ever get triggered by trauma like I do. I'm known as a reactor rather than an actor. As an adult child, we tend to be a little reactive. But anyway, anything that like resets you. Maybe it's when you say, Alexa, play Creed.
Yeah. Things that reset me, I guess just for me personally, it's just like being patient, even with yourself and your emotions. And as you experience things, like give yourself a little extra time to unpack it and to actually investigate it, think about it, deal with it however you need. And maybe, we form these like you said, with these reactions where it's like, when this happens, I react instantly like this. And if you can find little ways to insert even a tiny bit of time in there,
take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, count down, whatever you need to do some breathing exercises, whatever you need, that can be hugely helpful, just because that time, even a little bit of amount of time, can allow you to process that a little bit better. Because those first reactions, a lot of times they're can be overwhelming. They can be a reaction that you didn't want. They can cause you more pain, more issues. So.
I've gone to the Boulder County Jail. Yeah. I've reacted. Avoid jail. Take a breath. Yeah. Don't be like Uncle Nance. Take a deep breath. Maybe hang out with your pets. That always helps too.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have my 2 dogs. I can, that's proven. It's not like you can be as skeptical as you like, but it's one thing that is proven is the benefit of petting a dog, and the way it literally like lowers your blood pressure. Like yep. There's all these like proven physiological benefits just to like spend a little time petting a dog, scratching a dog behind an ear, and that can be helpful. That's what I use. That's my homeopathic medicine.
It is medicine, and it does.
Take
it gets
2 huskies twice a day,
and they get you into nature too. So when you get out in nature, you have to. Right. They got to run. Right. They got to run.
Yeah,
I love. And then well, listen. Which do you did a story about and we are going to have closure. I promise. When you do a bit about taking them, was that when you have them on the bike and stuff? Is that on one of your albums that people could listen to about you taking?
That'll be on my next album. Oh, but that's a true story.
Okay, no spoilers. You got to go to the album recording to hear and get the new album to hear about. It was hilarious when we worked together up in Breckenridge recently, and you're talking about. I made the mistake of doing something similar with my sled dog, so I love that bit. I love the bit about trying to take him on a run. On your bike, and
it was madness. Madness.
Oh man, thank you. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to the Traumedy, the Traumedy folks out there.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. It was nice to chat longer than the average green room chat,
Yeah, I hope to. I'm gonna see you out there, and maybe I'll be at your album recording. You never know.
Come down.
Yeah.
Come down.
Well, have a good rest of your day, Andrew.
Boom. Thanks for having me. Do you need a clipper? I can try to get a clip of that vasectomy story, but yeah.
It might be fun to throw in a snippet of it. No pun intended, but yeah. We could throw in a little snippet. Yeah, if you do have access to it, why not? Because there was that little part
of the bit is the guy who did the imaging on my balls for an hour. He small talked me the entire hour. Because I was like, I'm just gonna sleep through this. It's dark in here. It's, I'm just going to like
dissociate. Like you kind of want to dissociate, right?
Yeah.
But no, he wouldn't let you.
I don't really want to. Yeah, I don't want to be awake and paying attention. And he puts that freezing gel on the thing, and right before he goes in, he goes, "So you get all your holiday shopping done?" And then he small talked me the whole hour. I could not believe it. It was horrible. It was horrible.
He would not let you dissociate from that experience.
I was giving him those like little sounds that mean like nothing, like like not even
giving him all the verbal cues that
he didn't care. He did not care.
He needed to have a conversation with you. Oh, that's funny. Yep. I love it. I love it. So if that doesn't go in, I'm still recording. I'll throw this in.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, man. Wow. It is good to reconnect. You guys, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you to have, and I am jealous. Like, oh God, that's got to feel so good to have this solid, like my son has a solid sibling, by choice crew, and I love they play Magic the Gathering around my table, and nice. I they're nerds, but they are I love the barbs that they throw at each other, and they really are like, they've known each other. One of them is since 2 years old, and the other one since second grade. And nice. I mean, awesome. They are ruthless. Like, it is hilarious. And I don't have any friends that'll let me give them that much shit. Because it's an outlet, right? There is a part of you that gets that out of you, and like, it's a genuine connection. And I really think it does speak to, I know when I adopted my son, they said, when he's acting out, that's a sign that how much he trusts you. Like, he knows how safe he is, that he can push on you that hard and know that, he's not, there's no threat to this relationship with him. That was back in the day. Yeah, it really anchored with me. So that's also a sign that you guys have that deep, deep bond, that there's probably, I'm sure there's something that could happen but nothing like the verbal barbs that would threaten your relationship in any way, because you know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think, as too, comedy is, so much of it is competitive. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to get it, and you're not going to get it. I went and got the thing that you can't get. Yeah. Kind of the vibe.
Yeah. Dick Cavett said, well, it's not so important that one succeeds, but that one's friends must fail. I love that line. But it's true, though. There's a sickness inside of us, like this really hungry little kid that's like, if he gets it, then that says something less about me, like that whole weird comparitis thing. But with your group, it's not like that. It's like you guys are supporting.
There's a little bit, maybe here and there, a little jealousy of like, oh, they got it and I wanted it. But no, I think by and large, not so much. And it is nice just to have a group that can work together and you can rely on. I wish more people did it for that reason, just because it's like, I think it's better for your comedy psyche to have that, for sure.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna keep working on fostering that kind of. I find I'm really bonding with the millennials. Like Christy Buckley and I loved supporting her, birthing her show, her one-person show, and I love when we can help each other. And this podcast has been kind of bonding too. People kind of coming together, and we're here to help other people. I love that. So that feels really good. I love our community. I actually love the Denver comedy community. There's a sense that we know we've got each other's back if somebody needs something. That's really cool.
Yeah. I think it's better than most, for sure.
Well, what are you doing? You're going to go out and save the world and pick up your child from school?
Yep. Well, luckily her mom just picked her up today, but yeah, I gotta make this call. I'm doing a sober comedy show. There's this like sober group that is doing more comedy, which is cool, because I think I like doing sober shows, and I think that comedy is so entwined with drinking a lot of times, where it's like, you have to get 2 drinks. It's like, well, yeah, you can get 2 Cokes, I guess, but yeah, but it's nice I think it's sober comedy, I think, is just as valid as regular drinky comedy. And I'm glad that more people are doing those shows.
Man, I love that too, because I've never really felt good about pimping drinks for a living. And what do you consider sober from alcohol? Or I did that dose show, and it was the most present I've ever been in a show in my life when I was on The Dose. Steve Gillespie has a show called The Dose, and it's a psychedelic comedy show. And it is, I mean, wow, it was transformative.
So the comics eat like mushrooms or something?
Yes, and some of them ate many different psychedelics. I stuck to one. I mean, MDMA is a psychedelic technically, but but I felt the most present. Like transcendent, and I mean, people are drinking there at that venue, but do you consider sober alcohol or also all the other substances on a sober
I don't
show?
do any of them, so I guess in my case it does, but I mean, here and there I've smoked weed. I'm not like sworn off of weed like formally or whatever or anything really, but for me it's just like quitting drinking because that was the thing I had an issue with. So, I guess I use the term sober as like a catch-all, but for me it's specifically just not drinking. But by and large I don't really do anything. My only vice is like caffeine and coffee. That's my new thing.
Yeah, man. I do my Earl Grey. I've got to have, and I am starting to take ADHD medication, which my son calls meth, because it does have amphetamine in it. But it is changing my life to take this. Anyway, it's helping me. It's helping me not have so much shame and doubt. Like I call it a shame and doubt blocker. I don't take it every single day because there's a part of me that's afraid of being, I don't know, I don't want to have to up my dose, or I don't want to get dependent on it. But man, on a day I need to get some stuff done. It's so helpful. Yeah. It's like coffee, but with, I don't know, there's something that my mind just goes, whew. Have you ever, okay, I gotta let you go. I'm sorry. I'm still talking. Okay. I can't end. I can never end a conversation. I'm like, and another thing, let's talk.
And also, yeah.
Thank you. Seriously. And
thanks for having me. I'm glad it worked out.
I hope we get to work together again soon.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
All right. Peace and love, Andrew. And
thank you.
Have fun on the Sober Show.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
I'd like to thank my guest, Andrew Orvedahl. Check out the show links for Andrew Orvedahl's album recording. Reach the Grawlix Saves the World podcast, the Grawlix shows, and if you are suffering from a botched vasectomy, don't hesitate. Go get that checked out. Don't be shy. If you're having pain during sex, go get checked out. There are solutions out there. And as always, like, subscribe, and share Traumedy with your friends. I'd like to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for the music. Although he said he's working on some new music. He was disappointed when I told him today I'm launching season 2. And he said, you're supposed to tell me because I wanted to make new music for season 2. So let's see what that'll be coming up. And I want to thank you, the listener. So many of you have reached out to me and are guests, and I have new friends, and I feel a richer, deeper connection with my community thanks to Traumedy. And so thank you. You're actually healing me. I hope that you're getting half as much healing as I am. It's Traumedy Tuesday, a new episode every Tuesday. Traumedy is a higher power production.